As the CEO of Science Technology Australia, you put on this marvellous event. What's the mandate? What's the mandate for STA?
Oh, well, STA is the peak body representing all of the societies and associations in science and technology across Australia. So we represent around 60,000 scientists and people working in technology. That's a lot of people. I have the honour of being the Chief Executive. I've only been in the job for 4 months. So one of the first things that I was asked to do when I stepped into the role was to organise Science Meets Business. And it's one of our two kind of big annual events. The other one's Science Meets Parliament, and I hope to see you there too.
I noticed today that there are a lot of speakers that came from a journalistic background. Now, you come from a journalistic background. Do you think that, I don't know, journalism is, I don't know, something that's needed or desperately required and everyone's attracted to this in the innovation space? Why so many journalists?
You know, I have to say yes. I'm actually also the winner of the Unsung Hero Award for the Australian Science Communicators last year, and I am probably the only person who's won that award who actually was a journalist originally and then moved into the science space. I could be absolutely wrong because I made that up. I'm going to say
Well, you're being creative and you communicated it very well. I did notice that as a theme today. Did you notice that as a theme? There was lots of conversations about communication.
I think that is absolutely key because it doesn't matter how good your idea is. If you can't get it across, if you can't influence people, if you can't convince people that it's a good idea, then it's going to go nowhere. So communication is key, and it's not something that's traditionally taught to people who study science, technology, engineering, mathematics. It's something that people might have a natural aptitude for, and they might push themselves to practice if they've done one of those degrees. But we don't integrate it into our STEM degrees, nor do we integrate marketing, nor do we integrate how to, I don't know, convince somebody to invest in your research. But really, if you learn how to communicate, all of these other things can kind of join up together, and you can meet people and you can convince people and you can bring your idea to the world.
I liked what Dr. Peter Schultz said about Alan Alda's School for Scientists, where they have to pitch to 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Do you think we need something like that?
Well, we've got something like that actually. The Centre for Public Awareness of Science at the Australian National University does exactly that. They teach scientists how to speak to children.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
This morning when you woke up, what were you thinking, I would love to see happen today?
I really wanted two things. I wanted the conversation to be really positive and proactive and focused on solutions, so that it wasn't just another kind of big old whinge fest. We've got so many of these events have a parade of people on stage just saying, oh, it's terrible, this part doesn't work with that part, and this bit of policy doesn't allow us to do what we want, etc. I really wanted today to be focused on, okay, we've got what we've got, how do we make the best of it? How do we move forward? How do we actually make those connections so that we can make the most of the fantastic research that's being done in Australia? And there is so much fantastic research being done in Australia. Second thing I really wanted was for people to make connections. I wanted, and I'm going to follow up with everybody who's been here today, and I want to hear at least 5 stories of scientist meeting investor or small business person meeting big business person and actually starting a discussion which leads to a partnership.
Well, I've seen a lot of optimism today. When I've spoken to people, there has been a great deal of optimism. What are you particularly optimistic about in this space?
I think Australia does a phenomenal amount of extraordinary research in all the different disciplines across science and technology. So I'm really optimistic about our capacity to build a knowledge economy and to actually innovate and become a leader in this space worldwide. I'm going to do my best to help that to happen, but it might take a few more years, but we're getting there, I think.
Not going to do your best, you're going to make it happen.
I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. No, I think that we are stepping towards that. The conversation that we're having nationally at the moment in the media, in the public, in universities, in businesses, it's moving towards that. And we're looking at policy change that's moving towards supporting that as well. So I think in the next few years, we're really going to see things change very dramatically. We have some terrific ideas here in Australia. Let's actually bring them to the world.
So we had the science people here today, we had the business people today, and everyone in between, government, everything.
Yep.
For the people from the private sector, what did you want them to get out of today?
I really wanted them to understand that there are a lot of science people working in science. There are a lot of people working in publicly funded research organisations that are keen to work with business. Because quite often we hear from scientists that they want to go out there and pitch their idea, they cannot find an investor. And I was talking to someone just the other day actually who's invented these fabulous nanobubbles. It's a new drug delivery system. They can track them through the body till they're in the cancer or the organ that they're trying to target, and then they burst them using ultrasound.
Wow.
Now, I know, wow, right?
Yeah.
But he can't find an Australian investor. And he's been doing that for 18 months trying to find an Australian investor. He went to Singapore, he found an investor in 2 weeks. So I want Australian business to hear that there are some great stories here. If we're prepared to take a chance and sink a little bit of money on something that's a pretty good risk, I reckon, then they'll do what they want to do, they'll make money, and the scientists will do what they want to do. They'll bring their idea to the world.
Yeah.
Likewise coming back the other way, there are a lot of great investors potentially walking around looking for great ideas. Let's get those two together.
Well, that's what my next question was going to be. The researchers, what in particular did you want them to walk out of this room thinking and feeling and knowing today?
Well, I want them to know that they have to put themselves out there. They also have to take a risk. They have to learn to communicate. They have to take a personal risk that if they step outside of academia to try having a go at business, that they might not be able to step back in, and that's a whole other discussion, but it's worth the risk. And I want the universities, the people who run the universities, the deputy vice-chancellors of research, the vice-chancellors, the heads of schools, I want them to understand that those risk-taking academics are the ones that we want to encourage and the careers that we want to help flourish. Let's not punish them for taking those risks.
Welcome them back in.
Indeed.
If they go out, they take a risk and they come back. I do know that from an entrepreneur's perspective, at the back of their mind, they're often thinking the worst thing that will happen if this goes wrong is that they'll end up washing dishes.
Yeah.
It would be wonderful if academics could accept that. And when I say washing dishes, I usually mean back at the job that they originally had before they started.
Yeah, that's right.
So next, what do you want to come out of this? What's the next step?
Well, as I mentioned, I really would like some solid connections to come out of this, and I'd love to come back in a year's time and announce that 3 or 4 or 5 different businesses have grown out of this event. I think that's a pretty good goal to aim for. Next time round, I'm going to do some other interesting things. I want to shake it up a little bit. I want maybe a Shark Tank. I want the researchers to be up there pitching their ideas, and I want some venture capitalists to be coming along and saying, "Yep, I pick you."
Excellent. Now, speaking of connecting, communicating, shaking things up a little bit, outside right now, everybody's going drinking champagne.
They are.
Shall we go do that?
Let's drink champagne.
Let's go drink champagne.